Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odessa. We are continuing our first working day in the new year, and now I would like to give floor to Serhii Bratchuk, Speaker of the Head of the Odesa Military Administration. Can you share with us the news in our region? Thank you. First of all, I would like to address to our audience today to congratulate with Christmas and New Year. And we understand that we will have celebrations after our victory, when we have peace in our country. And the biggest wish for today is, of course, the wish to have victory. And we are sure 100% that we will be victorious. Coming to the situation in our region, I would like to say that it is fully controlled. And of course, we expect to be at fully control in the future. We understand that enemy's inability to win on the battlefield intensifies the work of the Russian subdivisions of informational and psychological special operations. We can see it in our region, and in particular in Odessa. And we see a lot of fakes in relation to our region, to the work of the Odesa Military Administration. And fakes range from mythical advances in the southern part of our state to the situation around the power supply after Russian shelling and attacks by kamikaze drones. That's why, once again, we urge to use official sources of information and practice informational hygiene. And I would like to thank Media Center Ukraine Odessa for their active work in this area, supporting our information work. As for the power supply frontline, it is known that the consumption of electricity in Ukraine is increasing due to the gradual decrease in temperature and the intensification of business operations after the holidays. And in the whole state, and Odessa region is no exception. To ensure balance in the power system, consumption has been limited for all regions. Of course, the representatives of the power sector can share more detail, but we would like to remind that exceeding the consumption limits leads to the emergency restrictions, and we have such cases in our region. I would also like to remind that damage to general facilities and trunk networks is complex and large-scale all over the state. Their restoration still requires significant resources and, of course, time, including the Odessa region. Power engineers continue to restore energy facilities damaged by the Russians by shelling and kamikaze drones to ensure power supply to consumers and to increase its reliability. And we are well aware of the attempt to deprive us of power supply, and we continue to counteract these activities. As we got prepared last year, we are still getting prepared to the possible, and I would like to emphasize, possible escalation of the situation. Of course, we are going to restore damaged object. As for examples of such preparation to possible attacks by the enemy, we can say that the Odesa Military Administration closely cooperates with different international organizations. For instance, we can speak about the program of Ukrainian Rapid Response Fund, which is supported by the U.S. State Department. This week has been the next round of negotiations with Odesa Oblast Military Administrations, and we have already received the first batch of critical aid, including 23 generators. And this is not the only case. This is just an example from this week. These aid and generators are distributed between points of invincibility and IDP centers in all territorial communities of the Odesa region. When it comes to critical infrastructure, of course, we focus primarily on healthcare facilities. They continue rendering inpatient and emergency medical care, and they are equipped with autonomous power sources. If there is a power outage in medical facilities, the generators start automatically within a few seconds, which is not noticed either by personnel or the patients. An adequate supply of fuel has been created for their operation according to technical norms envisaged by the martial law. So if there are outages, the medical facilities can fully continue their operations. As for the other issues, the outages can lead to problems with the mobile connection. And of course, I think that you have already had such experience when users may have problems calling 103 when needed. This is the emergency line. That is why I would like to remind you that if there is a need for medical assistance, but there is no mobile connection temporarily, you should do the following. Learn the address and route to the nearest medical institution or point of invincibility. Leave the house or shelter only when there is no threat to your own safety. And you should also find out from the local authorities in all regions, in all territorial communities, about backup telephone numbers in case there are interruptions with the operation of the landline 103. There are such backup telephone numbers, and you just need to find out this information beforehand. It's for educational institutions. On the 9th of January, they will reopen, namely 505 out of 725 educational institutions will open. Others will follow them on the 15th of January. Universities are on vacation in the Odesa Oblast until the 1st of February. Work continues to improve the system of shelters in educational institutions. For secondary and higher education institutions, this is the priority issue. As an example, there are safety classes that create new conditions, which means there is opportunity for children and their parents to get knowledge on the provision of first aid, to learn what to do when detecting explosives. They learn about fire safety rules and also what to do in the event of an air alarm. As for explosives, we can see that for the last 3 days, we've been getting from the sea the enemy's gifts, so to say. So this is the mines which were put in the sea by our enemy. And these presents are found on the coastline of Odessa. This is uncontrolled weapon of the Russian Federation that the terrorist country used at the beginning of March last year. And we know that they have around 400 such mines in the Black Sea as an uncontrolled weapon for the Russian Federation to be able to get to Odessa across the Black Sea. That was prevented by the armed forces of Ukraine. I would also like to remind that all martial law restrictions are aimed at preserving life and health of our citizens. They have not been cancelled. Now I mean that that you are still prohibited to go to the Black Sea coastline in all oblasts and in Odessa particularly. And if you are for healthy lifestyle, if you like to like sea bathing, even in winter, you should not do this because this is dangerous because of the mines I've mentioned. So do not expose yourself to danger, just follow the rules, because all of us should wait for the victory together and to celebrate this together. This is briefly about the safety and security situation in our region. And also with regard to the power supply situation in our region. Good afternoon, Dmitro Bogomolov, Live News. I have a question about the grain corridor. What is the situation there? Because the enemy tries to sabotage the examination of the vessels which participate in this initiative. Does this sabotage have an impact on the grain corridor and on the hostilities in general? I do not know what is the impact on the hostilities because this is out of my mandate. As for the grain corridor, despite the challenges that we have been facing, that you have properly described now, despite the aggressor sabotage, the grain agreement and initiative is ongoing and has been prolonged. As for the operation of Odessa big ports, the work is ongoing, but of course we have now difficulties related to the power supply that has an impact on the schedules of operation that have become now more flexible. And the Ministry of Infrastructure can provide more details, but the main thing that the initiative is ongoing, and I hope that the enemy will not be able to disrupt this. Thank you. We have some more questions. Good afternoon, Vlada Matvichuk, Suspilna, Odessa. I have the question. The security service has detained the head of Odesa Military Administration, who just took the bribe of $35,000 to protect his employee from the imprisonment. Do you know something about this? I know the same, all the information that you know. This is the question to the State Security Service of Ukraine. Do we have any other questions? No, thank you. Yes, I would also have a pleasant mission. Using this opportunity, I would like to give you such a gift from our 28th Mechanized Brigade, which is now in Bakhmut, and the just give to Odessa residents this flag, proving and saying that they are sure in our victory. Thank you. Thank you for such optimistic finalization of this briefing. Hopefully our guys will be okay there near Bakhmut. The next week we will continue our work, follow our announcements, and stay tuned.
What?